In the heart of central Vietnam, the sun rises over Mỹ Sơn, where the kingdom of Champa was born. Legends tell of Po Nagar, the goddess mother, who became the spiritual heart of Champa.
By the 2nd century AD, these people formed the kingdom of Lâm Ấp, Siem Mai, the first seed of Champa.
From India came traders and priests, bringing Hindu gods, scripts, and new ideas that reshaped Champa. Kings like Indravarman II forged temples and monuments that still stand 1,000 years later. Art and dance expressed the devotion of the Cham people to their gods and their kings. The Cham were masters of the sea, linking India, China, and the islands of Southeast Asia. But from the very beginning, Champa's survival depended on resisting the great empires to the north.
By the 2nd century, the land of Lâm Ấp emerged along Vietnam's central coast. Local chiefs united villages under strong leaders, the first sparks of a kingdom. Traders and priests from India brought with them sacred texts and new beliefs.
Sanskrit writing reshaped Cham identity, linking them to India's spiritual world.
Hindu gods like Shiva and Vishnu took root in the spirit of Champa.
Though seafarers, the Cham also thrived on rice farming, sustaining their growing towns. Artisans shaped clay and bronze, producing tools and ritual vessels. Champa was never a single empire, but a league of allied chiefdoms.
From these hills, the first brick temples rose to honor the Hindu gods.
From early times, Cham warriors turned the sea into both a highway of trade and war. Champa's independence was tested by China's southern armies.
Celebrations followed each victory, binding the Cham together as one people.
Champa's harbors connected India, China, and the islands of Java through maritime trade. Spices, ceramics, and silk passed through Champa, enriching its coastal cities. Shipbuilding was an art, giving Cham sailors vessels that carried both trade and war. The towers of Mỹ Sơn became eternal symbols of Champa's devotion and artistry. Every wall told stories of gods, of battles, of kings seeking divine favor.
Dance and music were sacred offerings, echoing through temple courtyards.
Buddhism blended into Cham faith, joining Hindu gods in a shared spiritual space. By the 10th century, Islam also found a place in Champa's ports. Agriculture remained the backbone, feeding villages and supporting trade.
The Cham drew wealth from the sea as much as from the land. Markets were not just for trade, but for festivals of color and sound. Metalworkers shaped bronze into weapons, bells, and sacred statues.
Music carried the voice of the gods and bound the community together.
Cham weavers produced textiles that adorned both nobles and merchants.
Rituals honored the gods each evening, seeking blessings of sea and harvest.
Life in Champa blended the sacred and the joyous, a culture rich with spirit. By the 7th century, Champa ruled the waves of the South China Sea. Feared as pirates, Cham fleets raided coasts from Vietnam to China. Loot from these raids filled the markets of Vijaya and Trakio.
At times, Cham kings bowed to China, sending tribute to buy peace. Relations with China swung between submission and conflict.
At home, Cham kings displayed power with pageantry and triumph.
Indravarman II built great sanctuaries at Mỹ Sơn and Cha Kieu.
Temples stood not only as monuments, but as living centers of worship.
To the west, wars with the Khmer tested Cham's strength.
Khmer elephants struck terror into Cham ranks.
But on water, the Cham reversed the tide with fire and speed.
Champa courted Srivijaya, building alliances across the seas.
Joint fleets carried spices, ivory, and silks through Southeast Asia.
Wealth from conquest and trade flowed into palaces of Vijaya and Cha Kieu.
Learning and scripture flourished, inscribed in Sanskrit and Cham scripts. Festivals celebrated victory, uniting nobles and commoners in song and dance. Raids into Đại Việt were planned with precision and fire.
Vietnamese accounts recall fierce clashes and burning villages.
Champa's wealth grew through both trade and conquest.
Kings basked in triumph, their courts shining with power and fear.
Yet retaliation came swiftly from powerful neighbors.
Behind walls, Cham archers fought to protect their sacred cities.
On open water, speed and fire turned the night into a killing field.
Alliances shifted with the tide. Tonight, Srivijaya's word steadied the waters.
Spoils of war fed the gods, binding conquest to devotion.
Victory paraded through Vijaya, a river of silk, drums, and fire. Champa swore itself to the ocean, the source of its glory and its fate.
From the 10th century war with David became a constant shadow.
In 982, David King Lê Hoàn marched south, striking into Champa.
Vijaya fell, its king slain, its court scattered.
The scar of Lê Hoàn campaign marked Champa for generations.
In 1044, Emperor Lê Thánh Tông launched another devastating strike.
King Chế Mỹ An was slain, his defeat a bitter wound for Champa.
Hundreds of Cham palace women were seized and taken north. Retaliatory raids scarred the coasts of Đại Việt in turn. In 1177, Cham fleets stormed the Mekong, heading for Angkor itself.
Their sudden strike set Khmer ships ablaze in Angkor's own harbor.
Their sudden strike set Khmer ships ablaze in Angkor's own harbor.
For a moment, Angkor itself trembled under Cham assault. They plundered the city, carrying off wealth and captives. The victory shocked Angkor, though it would be fiercely avenged.
For a time, Champa basked in triumph, its kings defiant and proud.
In 1471, Emperor Lê Thánh Tông led a massive army southward.
Inside Vijaya, Cham warriors braced for the storm.
Vijaya's walls shook under fire from David's siege machines.
Archers loosed desperate volleys, but the enemy pressed closer.
By noon, Đại Việt forces stormed Vijaya's gates. King Chatawan stood defiantly, though his kingdom crumbled around him.
The royal palace fell to fire and sword.
Tens of thousands perished in the slaughter. Thousands more were dragged north in chains.
The banner of Đại Việt flew over Vijaya's ruins.
Lê Thánh Tông recorded the victory as a triumph of empire.
Those who escaped fled south to the last remnants of Champa.
Vijaya, once the jewel of Champa, lay in ashes.
In 1471, Champa lost its northern heart, never to rise again.
After 1471, Champa shrank into Panduranga, clinging to survival.
Sacred towers became symboli of endurance, rising over a diminished land.
Year after year, Panduranga sent tribute north to keep peace.
The people endured, farming their land in quiet submission.
Culture survived in song and ritual, even as kingdoms fell.
By the 17th century, Champa was caught between Chin in the north and Nguyen in the south.
Nguyen forces pressed from the south, tightening the noose.
Cham kings pleaded for survival, but power slipped away.
Many fled into mountains, carrying memories and traditions.
Small bands resisted, but they could not turn the tide.
Gunpowder tore through Cham defenses.
Each clash left Panduranga weaker, its people fewer.
By the 18th century, famine and war hollowed out Cham villages. Champa became collateral damage in wars it did not choose. Cham leaders begged for mercy, reduced to vassals.
Life continued, but with every year, the kingdom shrank further. Small rebellions flickered, but never grew into flame.
Nguyễn power solidified, Champa's fate sealed.
By the 19th century, only Panduranga remained, a shadow of Champa.
In 1832, Emperor Minh Mạng signed away Champa's last breath. Cham royalty were seized, their power erased.
The palace of Panduranga was pulled down, stone by stone.
The people mourned as their kingdom vanished.
By 1832, Champa was gone from the map, but not from memory. The towers of Mỹ Sơn, now a UNESCO site, echo Champa's glory.
At Po Nagar, the mother goddess still receives prayers.
Po Klong Garai rises above Phan Rang, a monument of resilience.
Each year, Katê festival renews Cham identity with music and prayer.
The Apsara dance lives on, graceful as in ancient courts.
Drums and saranai flutes carry echoes of Champa across generations.
Cham weaving continues, bright patterns speaking of memory and pride.
Elders pass music to children, ensuring the spirit endures.
Rituals still honor the gods, tying present to fast.
Katê ends in joy, the Cham dancing under fire and stars.
Meals shared in community keep traditions alive. Their instruments sing with the same spirit as 1,000 years ago.
Today, the ruins of Champa draw the world's eyes.
Young Cham revive their heritage, blending past and present.
The sound of Cham music still drifts across the wind and sea.
Though its kingdom fell, the spirit of Champa still flows in temples and songs of Vietnam's coast. From pirates and merchants, Champa rose as a kingdom of the sea. Its temples shone with gods and kings, symbols of power and devotion.
War and conquest brought Champa to ruin. Yet even in decline, the charm endured in Panduranga. Their spirit lived on in music, dance, and ritual.
The story of Champa is not just about loss. It is about survival. Even when kingdoms fall, cultures endure.
Subscribe to Civilizations Uncovered to explore more forgotten worlds.